Here is my footage from a 2016 tour of Pennhurst State School and Hospital. I begin in Keystone Hall. Built in 1930, it was part of the Upper Colony and housed female patients. This building actually wasn't part of the tour. I just explored it later on. And this building has since been demolished. It's kind of hard to find photos and videos from in here, so that's why I'm including this first. Here's the start of the footage from the actual tour. The architecture on the Pennhurst campus is beautiful. We start off the tour in Mayflower Hall, which opened in 1919 as a dormitory. Pennhurst opened in 1908. It was built in order to house and care for people who at the time were referred to as feeble-minded. Originally, the idea was that those with what today we call intellectual or developmental disabilities would be segregated from society in institutions. It was thought at the time that this would protect both them and society. At the time, Pennhurst and other similar institutions were part of American eugenics. It was thought that if those with intellectual or developmental disabilities were removed from society, they would not reproduce, and it would stop people from being born with these disabilities. Many were admitted to Pennhurst and similar institutions at a young age under the advice of doctors. They would spend their entire lives institutionalized. Oftentimes, these people would be left institutionalized, ignored and forgotten by their families. The documentary Inside Pennhurst Institution: Understanding Disabilities Through the Decades interviewed former residents who described what it was like not getting any visits.
While you were at Pennhurst, were you ever visited by anyone?
No. Mm-mm. No, I don't want to get in that conversation. But no.
I could understand the families that never came. If you had a child and your child died when it was an infant, that was a heartbreak. But it was a heartbreak that was kind of over. If you had a child that was never progressed past the level of a 6-month-old, was in a crib, couldn't see, didn't know anything, that would be a heartbreak every time you came to see them. I mean, I don't know if I could have done it myself. And some of their parents, they didn't come.
Once every 2 months out of a year, my father, my sister come up and see me. I try to tell them what it was like. It was horrible.
Here in the top floors of the dormitory, staff and nurses had once lived in the old days. Pennhurst was a world unto itself. Like most institutions at the time, it was built to be self-sufficient. Everything from farming and cooking to medical services were done on the campus. Residents often worked in what was called vocational training, where they would make mattresses. There was a wood shop, a laundry facility, and barber shop.
We used to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and at 6:30, I'd be at work in the morning at 6:30, and work the whole day through. I worked in the barber shop at Pennhurst. Used to go around and shave patients' faces and cut hair. We had to hold people down, low function groups. People couldn't keep still.
We used to work from 7 in the evening till 7 in the morning. Right through the night, we had to clean soil up and urine up off the floor.
I worked in the kitchen up at Pennhurst in C9, C10, and I was the only girl in there that cleaned the tables, put the chairs on the top of the tables. I ran 2 dishwashers.
Started out by making bed and dry scrub and mopped the floors. I gave somebody a steam bath, sterilized medicine glasses, sorting medicine cards, putting toothbrushes on the bed. I took care of seizure patients, as well as giving enemas. Well,
Unfortunately, many residents at Pennhurst were abused and neglected. The documentary Inside Pennhurst interviews former residents that describe their experience.
At Pennhurst, the people we knew and who worked there and who worked with Bob, by and large, showed great affection for him. Right? And we could see that affection, and we saw that they were good people. And how then do you explain bruises and conditions and the rest?
we were called morons, all that kind of stuff. You couldn't even have a smile on your face. They told me to wipe that smile off of my face.
It was cool. It was cool. You go that. You go that. Pick up the I tell my they call me pain neck, pain neck.
I think it is essential that we hear these stories from the past in order that we can learn from them so that it doesn't repeat itself in the future. In 1968, an expose was filmed at the institution titled "Suffer the Little Children," which exposed conditions at Pennhurst. This led to reforms and the eventual closure of the institution.
These are some of the sights and sounds of Pennhurst, the state institution for the mentally retarded. It's located in Spring City, Chester County. In 1908, when the institution first opened, the man in charge bitterly complained to the state that the conditions were already overcrowded. He transferred many of the patients to Q1, a classroom building. Many of them are still there. In the 18th century, the mentally retarded were often ignored, punished, and exploited. Today, things are supposed to be different. Modern 20th century man is much more scientific and civilized. Today, we no longer punish the mentally retarded. We don't exploit them either. We have come a long, long way. Now, we ship them 25 miles out of town to a state-operated institution and forget them while they decay from neglect. Pennhurst was first opened 60 years ago when the answers to the problem of mental retardation were considered to be segregation and sterilization. Sterilization, of course, is a thing of the past, but the archaic practices of segregation and custodial care are still with us and seemingly with the approval of society. The 2,800 children, young and old alike, residing within the confines of Pennhurst are for the most part protected from society, and the granite wall of ignorance and social blindness protects society from them. These unfortunates are being deprived of their dignity and self-respect. Why? Because only a very, very few seem to care.
Here we are now inside of Quaker Hall, which opened in 1908 when the institution opened. It was used to house, quote, low grades. This small building once housed 150 people. It was later determined that the building should only be housing 32. In Suffer the Little Children, we were introduced to a resident named Johnny, who was sent to Quaker Hall, or Q2, as a punishment.
You have just heard about Johnny. He's been causing discipline problems here at Pennhurst, so they thought they would send him to Q2. We thought you would like to see where Johnny lives. Johnny, can you talk?
Yes.
Do you like it here at Pennhurst?
No.
Why not, John?
Is
Let me ask you this, John. Do you remember living anywhere except Pennhurst?
no.
Do you like talking to the people up here?
Yeah.
Why, John?
And they'd like to talk to me.
How about the other kids, the ones that can talk? Do they like to talk to you too?
Yes.
The tour now takes us to Devon Hall, which was completed sometime after World War II and housed primarily male residents. It opened in an effort to relieve overcrowding. However, based on what was seen and said in the Suffer the Little Children documentary, this was not successful.
The sickening and almost unviewable conditions of the institution is largely due to overcrowding and the lack of personnel to provide elementary care. In many cases, children churn in their own filth for only one reason: lack of assistance. The ones that speak detest the inhumane conditions and hunger for the slightest sign of affection. However, some of them have become so callous to their plight, they've all but given up.
Joe, how long have you been in Pennhurst? Do you know how long you've been here, Joe? That you remember?
I was 19 when I first came in.
How old are you now, Joe?
20.
You want to go home?
Yeah, I like to.
Who's going to take you home?
Nobody.
Why, Joe?
They don't want me to.
You mean the people don't want you to go home with them? I mean,
The retarded have been ignored, forgotten, and pushed out of our minds much too long. In some cases, their feeling of being abandoned has stunned their progress. Others have just become more bitter.
do you have a lot of visitors, Calvin?
No, I don't have nobody that's been here. I've been in another institution when I came to Vibrate. I was a little baby.
When was the last time you had a visitor here?
1940.
1940.
They walked out on me.
Who walked out on you, Calvin?
My sister did.
In 1977, a judge ruled that conditions at Pennhurst violated patients' rights. Ultimately, this led to Pennhurst's closure in 1987, and residents were transferred to community care.
Lester Knock, as you can see, has severe physical problems today, but his quality of life in this group apartment makes him very happy. What do you think would have happened to you if you stayed in Pennhurst?
I don't think I'd be alive.
You don't think you'd be alive? You know what, Lester? I don't think you'd have been alive either. Dr. Conroy claims that Pennhurst and studies that followed influenced the release of 130,000 Americans from institutions and a change of attitude throughout the world.
After its closure, the campus had sat abandoned for many years. The abandoned campus was purchased in 2008. It was open to the public for historic and paranormal tours. Originally, the idea was that Pennhurst would be preserved and a museum would be opened so that people could learn about its past and the history of the treatment of those with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Unbelievably to me, today, the owner of the campus is seriously considering demolishing all of the historic buildings in order to make way to build an AI data center campus, despite outrage and protest from the local community and people that care about its history. I think it's extremely important that we don't erase this part of the past. It's important to have examples of places like this existing in the world. People need to see these places and hear about the past stories. Not to mention, the architecture of these buildings on this campus is extremely beautiful and historic. To get rid of these old buildings would be a shame. They don't build anything like this anymore. You can build a modern building anywhere, but to remove these historic buildings just for that, to me, it doesn't make any sense. However, one thing that I've learned over the years of urban exploring is that all of these places don't stay the same, and most of them, unfortunately, are removed from the landscape. As always, I'm fortunate to have been able to explore and experience this part of history. Exploring Pennhurst and other similar abandoned institutions has taught me lessons about society and how we treat the people within it.
We have brought the sights and sounds of Pennhurst into your homes in their most brutal and constructive forms. We have explored the reasons why the horrendous conditions exist, the problems facing the people running the institution, and what they have accomplished. Tonight we'll show you another view of Pennhurst. This one is from the inside out.
I would highly recommend anyone who's interested to learn more about Pennhurst and the subject of the treatment of those with intellectual and developmental disabilities in the past to watch both the documentaries that I've been playing excerpts from in this video. I'll link them both down in the description.